Hey everyone! So I decided to try out making my first YouTube video with my audio. Since lately I am recording things, some coding sessions with background music only, and I didn't explain what's going on. Now I want to try something out where I can say more things or explain some ideas. My plan is to say it in Japanese to make it more challenging, like Minasan konnichiwa, kiwa donai chunisi oshigashite imasu ka? Or maybe in Spanish, to make it more fun, estoy estudiando español para poder postularme también e empleo que requieran desarrolladores que hablen español. But let's set that aside for now, since I need to learn more about those languages. Since English is the common language, I'm gonna go in that path in my future videos. I've been following channels like Consistency, JavaScript Mastery, Great Stack, Free Code Camp, Traversy Media, and many more. I am inspired by how they structure their tutorials and how they present their explanations, and I'm very thankful to them. As a self-taught developer, I learned a lot from them. In fact, in the past days, I've been learning React Native by Consistency, and it's fun. It got me hooked. I'm opening this old project of mine, Snagsy API v1 folder, which is part of my capstone project. So this capstone project is a multi-store e-commerce dashboard with a front-facing website that will display products, will show users and store, as well as a dedicated dashboard for each user and store owners. This project is an early-stage API testing. It's hosted on Render with MongoDB for database and Express for building the API. Using DeepSeek, Gemini, and ChatGPT, it was much easier to create mock data for users, orders, and more. As you can see, we have here some basic folder structure which has models, routes, and seeders as the primary pieces to create the files necessary to populate data to MongoDB. Opening this to VS Code, and let's explore the code base. I have here a details.txt file where I put my MongoDB URI and password, as well as some details of my Cloudinary account where I hosted the images used for this project. You may have noticed that some important info like my password is visible here, but don't worry about that. Upon editing this video, I changed the password of my MongoDB account. I also prepared here my MongoDB account in my browser. This bookwork project is for studying React Native by Consistency YouTube channel, so let's set this aside for now. Let's go back to VS Code with Snagsy API v1 codebase. At the left side, we can see data folder. This is the corresponding files which is responsible for how the documents were created in the MongoDB account Snagsy database. Let's check categories.js to see the categories object. Each item consists of an underscore ID, name, description, and more with values that serves as a mock data. The same with other files like navlink.js, orders.js, and etc. They are structured to be objects that serve as mock data. With the help of DeepSeek and Gemini, I came up with this structure, which is not complicated and easier to maintain. Each of these files has a corresponding seeder file that allows us to push those mock data to MongoDB database. For category.js, we have category seeder.js, and when this script is executed, it will populate the categories document at MongoDB database with the mock data from categories.js. Again, with the help of DeepSeek, creating the seeder files was quick. The same with the rest of the files, they are all pushed to the MongoDB database by its seeder files. Now, let's check the repo of this project. It's snagsy-api. Below, we can check the link provided by Render for this project. Let's open the link to check the API. But since this is hosted at Render in its free tier, we will have to wait for a few seconds before the service becomes awake. You may notice that I also have Railway, also in its free tier, but it's not working since my trial is ended, and they don't provide other services like Render do. Let's try out some routes. Let's go with this one, products. We are still waiting, but if it's awake, we will paste the route here. It's awake now. We can now try the route to get all products. And it worked. We got a response from MongoDB showing the result in JSON format. If we go back to VS Code and check the index.js file, we will see some routes there. For example, we have here for the nav links, orders, and so forth. These are the routes that we can copy and paste to the browser to get some response. In the URL, this API/v1/products, let's highlight that one. Then we go back to VS Code. That one is actually this line of code here. When that is initiated, we call in the product route.js. And this code block here will initiate the request to MongoDB, and we will have a response in the format of JSON. The same with the other files in the routes folder. If we requested something using the URL based on the routes provided, we will get a JSON response. By the way, before all that, we also have each .js files inside the data folder. As a reference into building the models needed by MongoDB database, I had all the JS files inside data folder uploaded to DeepSeek, and it created the required models. It was a quick task. It created the correct types and objects. These models are responsible on how the Snagsy documents are structured. I mentioned before that we seed the data to the MongoDB collections using seeder files. So let's test it out and see it on the flesh. For example, we will delete one document in our MongoDB document. Let's delete categories, for example. As you can see, it is populated with the data which came from the mock data.js files. To initiate the delete, let's check the seeder file of the category document. This right here being highlighted, we will run this to recreate and populate the categories document in the MongoDB database. We click the three dots and click the drop collection. This requires us to input categories text to confirm. Then we click the drop collection button. Going back to VS Code, we will run our server. We say npm run dev, and we can see that we are connected. Let's split our terminal, then copy the file name of category seeder.js. In the terminal, we write node seeders/category seeder.js, then press enter. Let's go back to the MongoDB dashboard, then refresh the page. Wait for a bit, we might be experiencing some lag. And now, when we check Snagsy, we can see the categories document is back again. This means that the seeder file works just fine. Now, let's try to request for the categories. We can see that it still works. Next, let's try another one, let's say orders. We also get the response that we need. By the way, a friend in high school mentioned about a YouTube collaboration. I will design something, then he will use Claude to implement it into a live website. However, it's been a long time since I designed something. Ever since AI got famous, both in design and coding, I always start with AI as a boilerplate. in my projects, then move from there. So that's what I did. I prompt something to bolt.new, then have the design in screenshots so that I can send it to him. I actually finished it maybe yesterday or the other day, but I did not record, so I am opening one of my bolt.new accounts where I built it. As you can see, I have my prompt here where I used one endpoint to render some list for the app. In this case, the orders endpoint or URL. The app is about orders. The orders are rendered in cards like this. Then when you click any of them, it will display the order details from the right side. Bolt implemented the prompt and did some plans as guidelines to what was required in my prompt. The prompt requires it to use React and Tailwind CSS to build the front end. Then this is the result. When you click one order card, it will display a detailed view of the order. I believe there are some images in my Cloudinary where I missed the correct file name. That's why there are items that doesn't have images displayed. I am happy about this though. My API is working and it is very usable for a project similar to this. So I screenshot what Bolt generated and sent it to him. By the way, there is a much improved version of this orders API which currently resides only in my machine. As you can see, each item in this .json list isn't detailed. Let's open my Snagsy folder to show you what has changed. In the old API, it was items. Now it's ordered items with some new properties added. Then summary is added. Then a timeline is added which serves as a way to track the order lifecycle of an order. We also have payment info. Let's try to see the live implementation of the new orders object together with the dashboard web page I'm currently building using React and Tailwind CSS. We see that the one generated in Bolt shows the summarized details. However, it doesn't show the other details that might be useful. Let's put them side by side. I think it's better if I maximize the browser of my dashboard. There you go. It's displayed in a tabular format while displaying the ordered items in a list. Payment status and order status is added. There's shipping. Then we can see more buttons signifying other items. When you click an item, you can see a much more detailed view of the order. Ordered items are displayed like rectangle cards. At the left side, there is order lifecycle. This refers to the state of an order, like in Shopee, where you can track the current progress of your order, although mine is not very structured. Subtotal is much cleaner to look at. At the top, we can see a collapsible row of cards that shows some other details, like buyer details, shipping details, payment details, sales, the order details too. Let's go back and click an order with a more button. When a more button is clicked, it shows the remaining order but in an interval of 3 items. This one has 4 orders, that's why only one was shown after the more button is clicked. Let's click the one below with only 2 ordered items. Okay, still looks good and clean. Then the order lifecycle at the right side. In the early stages of this project, I consulted with DeepSeek and Gemini in how to structure an order lifecycle object. They provided many references like how big e-commerce platforms like Shopee, Amazon, Etsy, and other platforms approach the same concept but in a much deeper sense. So I came up with something not complicated and suitable for my current project and setup. We have the order place when the order is made by the buyer, payment pending for customer payment confirmation. Then we have other things below like payment confirmed, which means payment has been verified and confirmed. We got packed, means items have been packed for shipment. Ship when the order has been handed over to the delivery business to its courier. Skipping things, we have delivered, means the items in an order is being delivered to the customer. We got completed, which comes next after delivery, and this means that the buyer has put in a review and feedback about the items in her order. Both of these two, delivered and completed, constitutes to a sale. Only completed is much more exact because the buyer put in the review and the feedback. Let me show you some diagram that I created to plan the flow of my order lifecycle. So it's somewhere around here. I use diagrams.io to create the flow, a very handy tool in building workflows. Sorry, my bad. It's actually called draw.io. So as we can see here, we got some things going on. Every life cycle, for example, this order placed can be paid or pending. Then it can also be cancelled by the buyer or the seller. The buyer or seller, for example, can have an order that is already paid but still got cancelled. It can also be pending or refundable but still got cancelled. We got payment pending, which is somewhat simpler than the order placed. We have payment confirmed with other life cycles and they have the same structure. Going back to bolt.new, the best way is to just screenshot the 2 pages it created. It will be time consuming for me to design it from scratch, although there is Figma Make. But nah, I'm gonna screenshot the pages and send it to him so that he can use Claude to review the details or to review the design and build it. By the way, there are still plenty of things needed for my capstone project and it's coming into shape. This would have been slower if there was no AI, but in these times I am very thankful to AI because it will help me fix some complex logic needed for some functionalities that I want to add, but I don't allow AI to control the whole thing. I just use it to speed up fixing my problems. I have an analytics page which is becoming hard-boiled. It shows revenue stats for metrics like total and pending sales and cancellations. If you click pending sales, it will show you a list of pending orders. A ranking that shows top products, customers, and stores under pending sales. A chart that shows all 3 metrics with its date and amount range. The filter is also working. We can filter by year, by month, and days. This also have an order life cycle stats. The same structure with revenue stats, however, it breaks it down into life cycles. If you click delivered, it will show you order data that falls into the delivered life cycle and so forth. The same with the rest. It will also show you ranking. We can filter the ranking by top 3, top 5, and so forth. depending on how we set it in our code base. It will show you a list of orders that falls into the click life cycle. These functionalities would have taken me weeks or months, but because of AI, it was a faster fix. Other analytics are still in progress. I'm still cleaning things up before I can include them in this project. Other pages too are still in progress and laid out cleanly, properly arranged into components and reusable code to be used by other components. All in all, in my free time, I am building this slowly, taking things one step at a time. Next steps for me is to be consistent in making videos for YouTube. Next video might be about building an API from scratch using MongoDB, Express, and Render. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe if you find this video informative. See you around.